FanRun.com. Make sure you use the promo code FANRUN to take advantage of their welcome bonus and so they know that we sent you. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-8899-789. Must be 21 or older and located in Tennessee to bet.
It's the chase! It's the chase! Live 1 to 3, Monday through Friday on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Listen to Chase and his friends on WKGN. It's the chase! It's the Scruffy City. Listen to his friends, and his friends are on WKGN. I'm always taking your calls on the Tennessee Vols. It's the chase. It's the chase. It's the chase.
All right, Knoxville, the chase is on a Tuesday. My name is Chase Thomas, joined alongside William Pattison of Overtime and VIP The Slate from 6 to 8, Monday through Friday, right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Josh Heupel speaking to the media right now as we get started here on a Tuesday. Boo Carter officially back. What did you say, William Pattison, in regards to Boo officially being back this year?
Booyah. It was either going to be boo-hoo or booyah. We get booyah.
We do get booyah. And
It's
the
not
best
a boo-hoo.
It's not a boo-hoo, and that voice you hear right there, Jay King, intern Jay King. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great as always. Nothing crazy going on, but yeah, just having a great day.
There you go. Also on the ones and twos here producing today, intern Garrett Arborist. Garrett, how are you, sir?
Doing good. Hanging out with you today. I was just writing an article for the website a second ago. One reason why we can win each game. I was trying to figure out like one reason why we would beat UAB or New Mexico State. Seems pretty self-explanatory, but I was trying to figure out like a fun way to put that in the article. So that's what I've been up to the past hour or so. But
Trent Dilfer is not good at his job.
Yeah, I was gonna put that, but I was like, I don't know. That just doesn't sound right, but it is true. I mean, they're very bad.
Can we bring Bill Clark back a third time? I mean, he's already revived the program twice. How many times does Bill Clark have to keep coming back to save UAB football? He's already saved it twice. Let that man retire in peace.
Well, Dilfer said the other day, he was basically like, I can't believe they brought me back. Like, I'm very blessed that they brought me back. It's like probably not what you should be saying right before your team starts the season.
It's not a good.
No, it's not great.
It's not a good feeling. But what is a good feeling, as William talked about here at the top, Boo Carter officially back in the fold for at least 2025. We don't know what it's going to mean for 2026 and beyond, but for one additional season at the least, unless things drastically change, fall camps tomorrow, that is an extremely important development for Tennessee football, no matter how you shake it, right, William?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, we talked a little bit about it on Friday, and I had kind of anticipated we either have an answer by Monday or early this morning, and we get it just a little bit after 12, but it still works. We're fine. But again, how good he is defensively in terms of playing that star position where you're kind of the rover in the middle of the field. You're kind of the last-ditch effort to stop those big plays or come up in the run game, stop a running back from breaking off a big run, stopping a receiver from coming across the middle and possibly getting a lot of yards after the catch. Boo Carter, very, very important because of his athleticism and how he can control the middle of the field. Also, special teams. That could possibly dictate a game. That was one of the topics we talked about. Is Boo Carter enough to possibly, take away a win or give Tennessee a loss this upcoming season? And I feel like he's that type of player because he's involved more than just defensively. And this year we're going to see him on the offensive side of the ball as well. So you've got so many different ways that he can impact the game. Returning a guy like that was really, really important. Thankfully, Tennessee and the staff and the locker room was able to mend things at least a little bit. Now, Heupel did say about 5 minutes ago, right when we came on, that he's going to have to, quote, do some things to get back onto the field. But I anticipate that'll probably be, maybe a suspension for Syracuse or something like that. But by the start of SEC play, Boo Carter will be back on the field making plays for the Volunteers. But again, just a guy that is so impactful in so many different ways. You had to have him back, and maybe a little bit of a sigh of relief Like, we had Nico Gate a couple of months back, and that ended the way it did. Thankfully, we did not have a Boo Gate, and instead it's Booyah today.
No, we did not have a Boo Gate, which is a absolute positive for Tennessee, because it did not feel like it was trending this way going into the weekend, right? Like, it's just been Tennessee football fans are tired, William. This has been a turbulent offseason, starting from the winter exodus in the portal from the wide receiver room to questions about who was going to stay, like Mike Matthews, Boo Carter.
Yeah.
Who else was in this group? Ricky Gibson. Feels like forever ago that was a little bit of a rumor for Tennessee. And it just, Nico, obviously in April, it's just been a whirlwind of an offseason that me personally, have not been this ready for actual football to be happening and practice to start in a long time. For sure in the Heupel era, but man, we got to get to this season because it has been one of the all-time exhausting Tennessee football off seasons.
Well, look, talking season is usually good for us radio folks because we've got something to talk about, we've got something to do, but this has almost been a little bit too much, where it almost gets exhausting of, well, we just got over that Nico situation, and now here comes a whole new situation that, could definitely impact you a month before the season. It's not like you could do anything about it. It's not like you could just go add a guy through the transfer portal like you were able to do with Nico. So I felt like almost this situation was a little bit more extreme to where if you lost Boo Carter, he just said, I'm not going to play, or things didn't work out. I mean, that's a guy you can't replace. Like, it's not possible unless someone comes down from the stands and is as good as he is, and you're not going to find that. So maybe we can just take a deep breath and finally get to football. Camp starts today. Finally, we'll get some footage, get some video of what it looks like, and we'll have topics that are based around actual football, not where is this guy, what's going on, where are the rumors. Take a deep breath.
Oh, 100%. And we're all ready for that. And we also have positive news to talk about here at the top, which is Tennessee got another 4-star commitment. And it was someone who has been back and forth. Was it going to be Vanderbilt? Was it going to be Tennessee? Some new schools entered the fold. I think Oklahoma was the biggest one entered the fold of late. Coach Chop was in on this early as a Leo at Tennessee. This kid just transferred from the Webb School to Oakland, the powerhouse Oakland, this offseason because the Webb School is not playing football this fall. So he makes the jump to big boy 6A football here. So a lot of folks can see Joel Wyatt in person this fall if you're over there in Murfreesboro in the mid-state, or also in the state title game potentially, because it's always a good bet that the Oakland Patriots might be in the state championship game here in Tennessee. But I think it's a big deal that Joel Wyatt is in the fold, because I think some folks were like, well, in this era of the transfer portal, is it worthwhile to take somebody like Joel Wyatt if the coaching staff at Tennessee sees him primarily as a Leo, but he wants to play safety? Like, if you try and put him there eventually, he can just leave to someone who's going to give him that opportunity.
Sure.
But what I would say is, like, you still just put the talent in there and you just put him in your program, and you still take the flyer on a top 50 number 4 athlete overall in this class. You see what happens. You see how he feels, because he might change his mind. You're not going to believe this, but 18-year-olds might see things a little bit differently between 18 and 19 years old. They might be talked into, you know what, now that I'm playing it, I could see where the coaching staff was coming from, and that this might be my position. Or he gets to campus and they're like, we can make him Thomas Davis from the early 2000s Georgia team, where a lot of the Georgia fans remember Thomas Davis was a heavy hitter. He was a gigantic dude. He played linebacker in the NFL for the Carolina Panthers for many years. I think that's the comp I could see the most of Joel Wyatt, where he's just kind of a big dude who can play safety at times, but he's always close to the line of scrimmage, huge in pass rush situations. But maybe you rotate him in and out of the safeties where it's obvious passing downs, where you go with somebody else, like a Jao Kombe, who's also in this class. And that's how you make it work. But you don't say no to top 50 talent, that you get them in your program and you just see what happens, right?
Yeah, well, I think he's a top 50 talent, because just look at his numbers, like 6'4", 195. Like 6'4" screams like a linebacker, almost an edge rusher, and then 195 more so signals like a defensive back. So it's going to be interesting to see what Tennessee does once he gets on campus, because I think there are a lot of different options here. Obviously, he wants to play a certain position, but I would trust Tim Banks and company, who just had a top 10 defense last year, to put him in the right position. And I think the biggest thing about high school recruiting, and even the transfer portal, but more so high school recruiting, is just get the guys in the building that can be playmakers. Get the guys in the building that could possibly be the highest ceiling possible, once they, finish their time out at the university. And I feel like Wyatt's a guy like that, to where, yeah, he might want to play a couple different positions, and you can iron all of that out once he gets on campus. But at the end of the day, if this is a guy that can make plays, whether it be in the secondary, whether it be as a Leo, whatever it may be, that is beneficial for Tennessee's defense long term. And a top 50 athlete, or really top 50 player overall, top 5 athlete in the class, you can work with that. A big time addition for Heupel and Tim Banks.
100%. And I just think he's another guy that you feel really confident in being able to figure stuff out. Like, I don't have any questions about the complicated athletes on the defensive side of the ball. I trust Tim Banks. I trust Coach Chop. I trust Rodney Garner. I trust William Inge. It's the whole thing with Christian Gass last cycle. If y'all remember, he was a top 50-ish guy, 4-star kid from Covington, Georgia, who we weren't sure, is he a Leo? Is he just a straight up linebacker? Where does he actually fall? Could he be somewhere else? And it's just, don't overthink Christian Gass, because Georgia is fighting like heck to get Christian Gass in their building, and you won that battle. If other schools, Oklahoma is trying to get him in, if Vanderbilt, another SEC school, is trying to get him in, just don't overthink top end town. Because the whole thing is, like, you're rolling the dice anyway. All these guys are not going to work, but I am rolling the dice on as many blue chip guys as possible. Do not overthink stacking blue chip talent. It doesn't mean they're all going to work out. It doesn't mean that you should expect them all to work out, but it's all a numbers game. And I want as many of those guys in the building as possible, because some of them will, and I just need to make sure I have enough that we're going to be okay there long term, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And just looking at this class right now, I mean, you've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top 100 players already. And this is kind of the commitment season. And there are a lot of guys still to go, by the way. I think this is shaping up to be a really, really strong class. And Joel Wyatt is just another example of that, to where Heupel is going out and identifying playmakers and guys that can make an immediate impact within 1 to 2 years. And I feel like you were getting that. I mean, Faison Brandon, we know he's the talk of the town for this class, but even guys like Gabriel Osenda and a Braden Rouse. Like, I love the Braden Rouse addition a couple weeks ago. I think that's really underrated as a guy that's at 6'2.5", 220 at linebacker. Like, Arian Carter has done such a great job. He's been a starter since his freshman year. Maybe you could find another guy like that in a Rouse. I just really like the way this class is shaping up, and there are still a couple of big hitters to go. So a credit again to Heupel and company for putting together a strong class so far.
Absolutely. And you can join the conversation here today for all 2 hours right here on The Chase. 865-966-3435 is the way to call and text us. Again, you can join the program at 865-966-3435. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. When we come back, we'll talk about our fall camp storylines, with it kicking off here tonight. And tomorrow, we'll talk about ESPN and where they had Nate Ament here in the top freshman list, and why Vol fans should be pretty excited about that. And then in hour number 2, we'll talk to Lindsey Crosby of Braves Today to get a deep dive on what the Braves are going to do at the trade deadline, rapidly approaching here. G5 Garrett returns with South Alabama this week on his G5 Sunbelt preview series. Cordero Patterson, it's been a tough week for him with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but we're reflecting on how CP84 would have fared in the Heupel area and what other running backs would have potentially really thrived here. And we'll wrap up with Graham Hall of Swamp 247 to talk about the Florida Gators and what's up with DJ Lagway. And is there a real concern about his availability going into the start of the season? We're on, I guess, Bootgate is what we're going to call this with DJ Lagway. And that's important for Tennessee fans, and important because it might be Harrison Bailey that Tennessee's facing off in Gainesville at the end of November here. So stick with us on a jam-packed Tuesday edition here on The Chase at 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app.
For the fans, by the fans, this is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Knoxville, mark your calendars. Fan Run Night at the ballpark is back. Join us Wednesday, August 6th at Covenant Health Park as the Knoxville Smokies take on Biloxi and we take over the stands. It's all you can eat night, so make sure to bring your appetite. Plus, we're hooking up the fans with exclusive Fan Run swag giveaways you won't want to miss. Come hang with the Fan Run crew, rep your team, and enjoy a summer night of baseball, food, and fun. Fan Run Night, August 6th. Be there.
Reel in a great catch with checking accounts at Citizens National Bank. You don't have to keep fishing around. CNB makes banking easy. Earn interest with rewards, or open a good life and enjoy travel opportunities. If a simple and straightforward account is important to you, CNB offers that too. Citizens National Bank's checking accounts are the catch of the day. Visit cnbtn.com. Member FDIC.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Costa at Knoxville Smiles. Here at Knoxville Smiles, we're all about making it easier for you to see the dentist. That's why we're now open until 7 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If going to the dentist in the morning or during normal business hours doesn't fit your busy schedule, come see us a little later. Call 865-539-1776 to schedule your appointment, or just visit us online at knoxvillesmiles.com. Smile brighter with Knoxville Smiles.
Yeehaw! I've been hooting and hollering ever since I started betting with the VIP Play app. VIP Play has more than 200 leagues, every bet type you can imagine, live betting and live hosts, all with 24/7 support from real live people when you need them. Start betting better with the VIP Play app today.
Don't be a better, be a better with VIP Play today.
Download VIP Play today or head to VIPPlayApp.com. Make sure you use the promo code FANRUN to take advantage of their welcome bonus and so they know that we sent you. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-8899-789. Must be 21 or older and located in Tennessee to bet.
Are you looking for a treat that will knock it out of the park at the next watch party? Just like your favorite baseball team, Crumble brings the best lineup week to week with an expanded roster that includes key lime pie, strawberry cake, or my personal favorite, Monster featuring M&M candies. Let Crumble treat you to the best cookies in the game. Download the Crumble app and start earning rewards. You can even vote monthly on what flavors you would like to see at any store of your choice. Warmer weather is here, so get to the ballpark, but don't miss the cookies.
It's the Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app. We're also live on YouTube, so make sure you give us a thumbs up and comment. Enjoy the live stream over there on Fan Run Sports, so make sure you're subscribed. If you want to watch this program and all of our great shows all 13 hours a day, Monday through Friday, you can check us out there on our YouTube channel on Fan Run Sports. You can also listen and watch on X and Facebook as well. So just all kinds of different ways you can be a part of the Chase Monday through Friday, 1 to 3, right here on Fox Sports Knoxville. William Pattison in studio with us of the Slate and Overtime here on a Tuesday. As we continue on here, William, fall camp, I am just so excited that there's going to actually be video tomorrow on all of our favorite Tennessee feeds that we can see like, oh, this is how this guy looks. We're going to have to get used to a whole heck of a lot of new numbers, which is going to be very frustrating early on, but it is going to be so much fun to just see actual football happening. Full pads. We're all business. We're all going, like, people are talking again. Athletes are talking, coaches are talking, and we can finally see who's healthy, who's not, what is Jermod McCoy doing? What is Boo doing? Who's winning? Who won the day in terms of Joey versus Jake? All of that is actually just going to actually play out on the field over the next 2 weeks. And that brings me to my first question here. Who are you most excited to hear about at fall camp starting tomorrow?
I'm really interested by the freshman wide receivers. Travis Smith Jr., Rodarius Jackson, Joakim Dotson, because this is a wide receiver room that I think is very thin right now, at least in terms of who's established themselves. I mean, obviously, Chris Brazzell comes back. Mike Matthews is a former 5-star recruit out of high school. Obviously, there are a lot of expectations for him. Braylon Staley, similarly, another highly rated guy coming out of high school that didn't necessarily get a lot of reps last year. So you've got like 3 guys you're comfortable with. Amari Jefferson from Alabama, the transfer, former Baylor player as well. Kind of interested to see what he brings to the table. But I'm really looking at this freshman class because a couple of those guys played really well in the orange and white game. And I'm interested to see, can those guys become immediate impact players this year? Can they get involved and help turn what was in the offseason a wide receiver room that many believe was thin, including myself, to now, okay, you've got options here. You can throw Travis Smith Jr. out in an SEC game. You can throw Rodarius Jackson out in a SEC game. That's what I'm looking for. Do the wide receivers, especially the young guys, establish themselves early on in camp and possibly find a way to being a big impact in the offense?
The wide receivers is definitely in that because I think it's very unlikely because of, like you said, the numbers being what they are, that they are going to be able to get away with not playing at least one of those true freshmen a significant number of reps this year. Because what has been the case the last 2 years is, what have you seen? You saw last year Squirrel White could not stay healthy all season long. He's banged up all year. You look at Dante Thornton as well. Dante, when he played, led all of SBS in yards per reception at 25. Like, he was a great player when he was available, but he was not someone who could give you a whole heck of a lot of snaps out wide. But he made the most of his opportunities when he got them. You look in 23, Brew McCoy, you expected to be healthy all year, and freak injury happens, he goes down. You go in 2022, Cedric Tillman. You thought you were going to have him for a full year. Cedric Tillman gets hurt in the Akron game, and he has to get tightrope surgery, and his ankle is not the same the rest of the year. So you've had this 3 years in a row where, it sounds great in theory to like have your three guys with Mike and Brazel and Staley and be like, all right, if we can get to 2,000 snaps between the three of them, we're going to be all right, because that's what you got in 2021. 2021, Javonte, who might play, Belis, and Cedric played about 2,000 snaps between the three of them.
Yeah.
They were all relatively healthy. You had great health by and large, and Jalen Hyatt was sprinkled in there a little bit too.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's realistic. What we've seen is that was the exception to the rule, is getting away with no rotation and having three guys play that high number of snaps. That I just don't know if that's feasible. And the fact that for 3 straight years, you've at least lost one guy at some point during the year. I mean, I don't know if it's Brazel. I don't know if it's Mike. I don't know if it's Braylon. You don't want that to happen to any of these guys. But if history is any indicator, one of those guys is not going to be available from time to time this year. And their only option outside of, I guess, redshirt freshman Amari Jefferson, who technically qualifies as not a true freshman, you're going to throw a freshman out there, whether that's Travis Smith, whether that's Rodarius Jackson or Joakim Dodson. One of those guys is good. I would be floored if we don't see them and you're like, wow, they're having to go true freshmen. And they might even play more than Mike Matthews did a year ago, because at least last year you had more vets. There's no vets. Like, they're throwing you out. Your lone vet is Chris Brazel. And that's a whole different conversation of how that happened in 2025, William. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I am going to be very much locked in on which receivers are looking good and which ones aren't, because whoever has a great fall camp among the freshman receivers, they're going to be in the rotation. I don't see how they can't.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what camp's all about, right? Trying to find which of these young guys or these unproven players have maybe taken a step up over the offseason are now ready to compete for a starting job or compete for a consistent role. And I think you find that more offensively when, you've got running backs that are interchangeable, wide receivers that are interchangeable, not as much so defensively and on the offensive line or defensive lines, but like guys that can just come in and be impactful. And I think that's what you've got to find here with these younger guys, because you're going to have to rely on them because just something that you did not do in the portal was get wide receiver talent. And I thought that was a big whiff, but now you're going to have to reap the repercussions of that. But again, just the overarching theme, what young guys can establish themselves early is another thing I'm looking at. But in terms of the upperclassmen, I look at the offensive line and really try to hammer down who's at center. Is it Satterwhite? Do you play Sam Pendleton at that position? I think you've got some strong pieces like a Lance Hurd, who graded out really well at the end of last year. We talked about that on Friday. Wendell Moe Jr., a guy that's played a ton of college football coming over from Arizona. Sam Pendleton comes from a crop of really, really strong offensive linemen at Notre Dame. I like that addition. Obviously, we know about David Sanders, but I'm just really interested in seeing how that lineup finishes out. Like who are your 5 guys? About 4 of them, and there's a question mark with who's that 5th guy. In terms of the upperclassmen, that's what I'm looking for. I've got to focus on the offense because I think that will be what ultimately dictates the ceiling of this team. Offensively, I think defensively, I think at least for the most part, what you've got. Offensively, I think is the biggest question, and I look at those upperclassmen that are going to protect a brand new starting quarterback as a point of emphasis here in camp.
No, I think you're 100% right. And I would say when it comes to the offensive line, why that is maybe the most important thing to settle here in fall camp is it affects everything else. It affects the quarterback. It affects the running game. It affects the time that the quarterback has to find these receivers and help the receivers have time to get open. If the offensive line is better than expected, which I'm pretty bullish, I think you are too, on what the offensive line is going to look like next year, I think that raises the floor of the offense as a whole. And I don't have any worries about Tennessee being able to run the football this year, regardless of who it is. And everyone has their guy, whether it's Deshaun Bishop. Some people are big Peyton Lewis guys. Some people are big Star Thomas guys, like with what he did at Duke and him being an older back. Like, how does he factor in here with Darrell Sims in his final college football season? But to me, I just think they're going to figure it out. I think the best version is Pendleton not having to get thrown to center, because I think Sam Pendleton can be your right guard for 2 to 3 years here. And I think that's what you want. You want Pendleton to settle in at a spot where he started multiple games on a college football playoff champion runner-up at Notre Dame a season ago. And I think you want Satterwhite to really run with that center job. I think it makes it more complicated for Tennessee because Pendleton does not have a bunch of experience at center either. And I don't even know if that's his long-term home anyway. And you don't want to be in a spot where you're playing multiple centers against Syracuse trying to figure out who's going to be the long-term answer. Because one of the most underrated parts of the Heupel era thus far is that you found Cooper early on, and Cooper was just a 4-year leader at the center spot, and you never had to worry about that unless he was injured, like that weird stuff in 2023. So I think you really, really want to push William Satterwhite and even Max Anderson at that spot to be like, I want one of my redshirt freshmen blue chip guys to take this job. Like, I think Glenn Ellerby has got to be like, we'll go to Pendleton if we have to, but we want Sam at right guard, and we really want William Satterwhite to lock in and be our long-term answer at center.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And look, the offensive line is what makes everything work. If you don't have a good offensive line, whoever wins the quarterback job is not going to have success. The wide receivers that we want to see do well in camp are not going to be able to get the ball in their hands. And the running back room is not going to be able to establish the run because they're not going to get that push. So the offensive line, very, very important. You touch on that running back room, Star Thomas and Deshaun Bishop, Payne Lewis. You know, there are a lot of people trying to figure out, well, who's going to be the number one guy? The way I look at it, Heupel's always used 3 running backs anyway. Even back when Dylan Sampson was like running back 3, like he still played, but was in front of a Jalen Wright and a Jabari Small. And even, before that, you could go to all these 3 running back systems. I think Tennessee's got a strong 3 running back system this year. You've got some experience with Sar Thomas. You've got Deshaun Bishop, a guy that played well last year. Payne Lewis, a hometown kid that has a lot of speed. I like all of these guys, and I'm not really worried about one guy establishing themselves because I think all of them will play well, but you've got to have that offensive line in place and able to do so.
Who's your guy, Garrett?
Yeah, I mean, the offensive line was kind of the first thing that came to mind. I mean, y'all already talked about that. I kind of on the defensive side of the ball, I'm interested to see Colton Hood just because he came in May, 20 solo tackles, 2 interceptions last year at Colorado. Seems like a guy where if Jermod McCoy and maybe Boo aren't playing the opener against Syracuse, you kind of have to have maybe a player that you wouldn't have, necessarily expected to step up in the secondary. I know that'll be his first, game in the orange and white, but I feel like he could make an impact that first week. And I think if he makes an impact the first week, you're going to see a lot of him in the secondary this whole season.
Well, he was about to be thrown directly into action if Boo Carter was not available. If Boo Carter was not on the team, there was not a bigger offseason winner than Colton Hood.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. And I do like Colton Hood, by the way. I think he was one of the more underrated transfer portal additions, but I expect to still see him as well. But having Boo Carter back, just a deep breath. Like, it's still kind of marinating for me. Just thankfully, he is still on this team.
Well, and it also just feels like Colton's probably one of your starters at corner next year, right?
Sure, yeah.
I think you're going to have 2 new starters at corner. I would be very surprised if Jermod and Ricky are back. Because I think if Ricky has a good year, it's like you got to go to the league if he has a good final year here. So maybe Ricky's back for 4 years, but he flirted with the portal this past cycle. He's a good player. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that the cornerback combination is back in 2026. Jermod too, because Jermod, you saw with the injury stuff, and you just never know. You got to go to the league, especially if you're getting locked in the first round.
Oh, yeah.
Like Jermod, let's all enjoy Jermod McCoy for however many games we get him but this season. But this feels like most likely the end there too. But yeah, Colton Hood, you thought was just a great long-term investment there. And now, but the Boo stuff was like, he might be an immediate, like, we got to get you on the field like right now. But now he can have time to breathe and get acclimated. Doesn't mean he's like just not going to play and be on the shelf, because we also don't know what Boo is looking at playing time wise. So he still might be thrown in early, but he's someone, at least not a true freshman, super talented guy, former blue chipper, started at Auburn, moves to Colorado. I mean, he would have started at Colorado this year as one of your corners. So
I mean, he was basically playing behind Travis Hunter last season, and he still put up, I mean, good stats. I mean, 20 solo tackles when you're not starting. You know, I mean, that's pretty good numbers. 2 interceptions. Like, I feel like he's a guy that throughout camp you're going to see he's a pretty good player that you're going to want to see on the field more than you may think. I mean, he came in so late in May. I think a lot of people didn't really see. I mean, they saw that he came in, but they didn't really know a whole lot about him. And then we kind of went into summer. It was kind of like a dead period. Now you're coming back out, and you're going to see the videos of him this week. I think it'll be interesting to see what he looks like on the field. Yeah,
I think I saw it in his glasses. He's a blue light glasses guy, which he's caring about the vision. I'm a blue light glasses believer at night. So Colton Hood, pardon the pun, sees the vision there. So he's thinking about his eye strain, and which is important if he's going to be intercepting passes this fall. He's got to make sure that eye strain is under control.
That is true. And he had a couple of interceptions last year at Colorado, had some good returns on those interceptions too, which is one thing I always like about DBs. If you can go make a play after already making one, Boo Carter can do that. Colton Hood fits that bill as well.
It's a sneaky old cornerback combination now with McMurray, Hood, McCoy, and Gibson. Those are all upperclassmen as your rotation. That's pretty great.
When Tennessee's secondary is healthy, what do you think they are in the SEC? Where would you put them? Top what secondary room in the SEC when healthy?
I mean, I think they'll be in the top 4.
Yeah, I would say top 5 for sure. Yeah.
That foursome is strong.
Yeah.
But they're all healthy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. You know, everyone back, Carter back, McCoy healthy, like everyone, you know, I think they're top 5 for sure.
Yeah. More questions at safety, but at corner by itself, 100%. Yeah. And I'd throw Star in there now that Boo's back. I think he throw, because it's kind of a blend, but I still kind of think it's more corner than safety is what they're ultimately doing. But I don't know. Jay, before we go to break, who do you got?
For what now?
For the fall camp name that you're most interested in here.
David Sanders, probably, if he can be a plug-and-play lineman.
He better be. Larry Johnson's gone.
Well, you better hope David Sanders is good.
Yeah, and also Lance Hurd, too. At left tackle spot.
Lance Hurd, I mean, I think it seems like the vibes are great there. He is it seems like the injury stuff last year was a looming issue, and just kind of, getting acclimated. You saw it. Like, we always think receiver is where it's really hard to get acclimated to year 2 in the system. You saw with Wyatt making that leap, obviously, is the best example in year 2. But you've seen Darnell Wright made a big leap in year 2. You've seen it's definitely Cooper Mays got better and better over the years. Javonte Spraggins got better. I think it's just one of those where it's a developmental position more than anywhere else in the sport, but it's also just, hey man, it's really what LSU is running with Denbrock is not the same as what Heupel is running for his offensive line. So I'm right there with you. If Lance Hurd and David Sanders get through fall camp healthy and looking like just what a Georgia looks like and Alabama looks like at the tackle spots, that is a great spot. Because remember when we had Wanye Morris and Darnell Wright, you're just like, 2 pillars. Feel great. Like, it's just, you feel really good when you have 2 SEC looking offensive tackles. And when you have so many questions at quarterback this year, if those 2 are plug and play, just anchors on both sides, it's going to make life a whole lot easier, whether it's Joey or Jake as QB1.
Yeah. Look, an offensive line at all 3, at all levels, high school, college, NFL. A good offensive line can make a bad quarterback look good. A bad O-line can make a good quarterback look bad. And that's a big determining factor, especially in the SEC, when the line of scrimmage is so very important going up against these strong physical defensive lines.
When we come back, we'll talk about ESPN and where they pegged 5-star superstar Nate Ament in the top freshman of the country rankings. Stick with us, The Chase, right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app.
Check out our new and improved website at fanrunradio.com.
Hey, Knoxville. Surfside iced tea and vodka made with real brewed tea is only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar with no bubbles and no troubles. That's right. 0 carbonation, so it's easy to sip and enjoy. Headed to a game day or party at a friend's house? Bring an iced tea or lemonade variety pack from Surfside or try their green tea and new raspberry tea vodka. Find the can with the sunset stripes this season. Surfside iced tea and vodka. Sold at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Surfside iced tea and vodka. Sunshine in a can. Must be 21 or older. Enjoy responsibly.
In a world filled with deadlines and screens, sometimes we forget the simple joys of life, days filled with special moments. At Inward Half, we understand the essence of these moments. Feel the difference between our breathable fabrics and flexible apparel as you disconnect from the hustle and bustle and reconnect with what truly matters. Inward Half, simple luxury for on and off the course.
Ready to launch your career? Axle Logistics is a leading third-party logistics company where excellence is an energy. With an award-winning culture, Axle proves that positive outcomes come from a positive environment and a work hard, play hard mentality. At Axle, the drive for success is infectious. And with an uncapped commission structure, hard work isn't just noticed, it's rewarded. For those with big goals and even bigger dreams, Axle Logistics is the place to start your career.
The Drive with Russell Smith, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6.
Join us weekday afternoons here on Fan Run Radio. We'll be discussing all the latest Tennessee football, basketball, and baseball news with expert analysis from special guests along with your phone calls. It's The Drive, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6, right here on Fan Run Radio.
Flagship station for Tennessee fans. This is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
The best athletes don't just play the game, they change it. When it comes to investing, Gainbridge is doing the same. Their online platform does things differently because it's designed to put you in charge of growing your own savings. It's intuitive, it's easy, and best of all, it's on your terms. No wonder Gainbridge has earned the trust of 40% repeat customers. It's a better way to invest because it's investing your way. Get started today at Gainbridge.io.
Located in Knoxville's historic Old City, Barley's offers great food, live music, the best draft beer selection in town, and now your new favorite place to watch sports. Their indoor projector is perfect for any weather, and they've revamped their upstairs area with more TVs to take in all of the action. Their menu features hand-battered chicken tenders, juicy burgers, fresh salads, and the tastiest pizza in Knoxville. You can enjoy their happy hour drink specials daily from open until 6 p.m. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria.
Go 105.7 FM, 1340 AM. We got Roberto on the line, I believe, right now. Roberto, how's it going?
Hey, Chase, it's going really well. Thanks for asking. And you, besides sweltering heat?
It's too hot, man. The rain is helping a little bit, but yeah, we're thinking fall early and often here on the Chase.
You know, funny you say that. I've been in Connecticut all weekend until late last night, and they had a heat advisory while we were there. And it's because the humidity topped 70 and it was 88 degrees. So I'm making it slightly over 90. And my sister-in-law said something. I was like, oh, that's cute. She's like, what? I go, it's 111 heat index at my house right now.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, you just don't want to go outside in it. It's just one of those where you're like, stay inside with the AC. And I don't know. I feel trapped in my house over the weekend. But what's on your mind, Roberto?
Now you know what it's like to be a father. No, being trapped in your own home. I wanted to really quickly, I forgot about the Hood kid transferring in. You guys kind of reminded me of that. You know, I was just so worried about this Boo Carter thing, and it sounds like it's kind of, I hate to use the word cleared itself up, but it sounds like it's cleared itself up at this point. Are you willing to stand on that?
I don't know if I would say clear. What do you think, William? I would say it's in a positive more positive place than it was before. Because I mean, he still has to do stuff, right? We don't even know what he's looking at playing time wise. Is there a suspension? Like, there's still more questions there.
Well, I think the rumors of him possibly leaving and all of that has settled, and now it's just handling stuff in house and just working back to getting on the field. But he's gonna be playing for the Volunteers this season, so in that sense, I think it is settled.
Yeah, I guess that's right. I've heard since like Friday, it was completely on the team and Josh Heupel at this point. Since Friday, I guess you probably heard the same things. I heard Boo. Basically, they shopped him, and nobody was willing to pull the trigger, is what happened this late in the game.
From my understanding, Boo came back on Friday and asked to be back on the team. There was some pushback from a couple of members of the defensive side, Heupel was mulling it, and they decided to have that team meeting last night to make the final decision, and the decision was to keep him. So obviously there's going to be stuff that Boo Carter has to do to get back onto the field, as Heupel said earlier
or at
today.
least in the good graces, right?
Yes. But again, like once you put on the pads and everything, it's football. And Sam Beard said that yesterday on Under Review, and I really liked that piece, to where once football gets played and you get back into the rhythm, kind of all that stuff gets thrown out the door, and you can work through that adversity and build that respect and trust back in the locker room. I just think he's kind of got to show that now.
Yeah. And, I'm just glad that this is over, because as a fan, it is deflating. I said it last week and I'll say it again. It's deflating as a fan when we're just a shade over 4 weeks from kickoff in Atlanta.
Yep.
And we're still sitting here talking about basically teenage boy drama, for lack of a better term.
I mean, that's been the theme,
we've had that
though, right?
And we've had that since. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Well, I mean, that's just been the theme this offseason. You were dealing with Nico in April. You had the Mike Matthews questions right after the season. Like, that's kind of been the theme.
That's exactly what I say. This has been going on since April, and I'm tired of it. As an old man that has very limited time as far as time resource, to consume. I know a lot of people think that all I do is sit around and listen to sports talk and call. It's not true. I actually have a real job. Actually, I have 3. But with that said, I'm just tired. I want my joy in sports to be my joy in sports, and it really deteriorates that ability to disconnect from reality and go into my sports world if all the drama is basically like my 11. And I have triple 11-year-old girls. I guess you guys know that. And it's like listening to these kids act like this is I'd rather just go listen to my kids fight. Prepubescent teenage, preteen girls fight. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's one of those, you just kind of, I think for fans, you just kind of, this is the era that we're in right now. And I think you have to find a way to come to peace with that. There's going to be off-season drama more often than not. There's going to be, with how many players you're trying to keep, you're trying to keep them all together rowing in one boat with an unlimited transfer portal model. I just don't think that's reasonable when you're going to 105 scholarships. That's just a lot of guys to keep happy all at once. And I just think that's just part of the deal of what you're in right now. It's a little bit different for basketball, where it's just 15 guys right now for Barnes. And this is a bigger roster than Barnes has had at any point at Tennessee. He's going full 15. Or
any point in his career, I would imagine.
Yeah, so that's very different. But you look at Vitell, huge amount of offseason drama. I mean, there's been the Chase Burns thing was not that long ago. And I mean, nobody is free of offseason drama across all of big-time college football. And in college sports, I should say. So it's just, I know it stinks for the fans, but at the same time, it's still just you got to find a way to come to peace that it's just going to be hard to keep everybody rowing the boat in the right direction at the same time. It's just hard. That's what makes these runs special. It's man, they made it all work, and it's getting harder and harder to make it all work year in, year out.
Yep, I agree. So I'll leave you with this, because I know you guys are transitioning to talk a little Nate Ament. I heard while I was out of town, I guess I heard he kind of has a little fracture in his hand, and they're just kind of babying it.
I think
obviously.
No, he's fine. Don't worry about anything Nate Ament right now.
Okay. Well, all that to say this, because they start out the 100 days to football calendar, and I noticed that they're at day 70 till basketball now, and that's pretty exciting. I guess strangely, for the first time maybe ever, I'm as excited about all Tennessee sports as I am about football. I love the start of Tennessee football season, but it does get a little deflated when you have an off season like we do, and you start a game in Atlanta against a team we don't really want to play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Syracuse, the only thing that could go wrong in Syracuse is that we get a bunch of dudes hurt and somehow lose that game. They're not any good at all. If Kyle McCord was our quarterback, now we're having an interesting conversation, right? But the worst thing that could happen in that game is lose and have a bunch of injuries. I guess injuries would be the second worst thing to happen in that game. And I just hate playing games like that, especially if they're not on campus. I would love to go to the Carrier Dome. If you told me we play a home and home with them, this is my last part of the call. You tell me we play a home and home with the Syracuse, UCLA, beyond the Nico stuff used to be a fun one. We used to play Notre Dame home and home. I never got to go to those things because I was poor or a kid, right? Or a poor kid. and now I have money and I would like to go to those. And Danny No Nugs, he just won't schedule anything like that. And I was wondering what your guys' thoughts are on those. See ya.
What do you got, William?
Well, look, I mean, I think that opening up the season in Atlanta gives the opportunity for, look, Tennessee's got a big fan base, right? There are a lot of different people that cannot make the trip up to Knoxville every season. And you might have some people in parts of Georgia, a little bit lower and closer to Florida, that are Tennessee fans that just can't make the commute all in one weekend to go up to Knoxville. But putting it in Atlanta, a big city where it's easy to fly in, through a big airport, it's easy for people to travel and go see the Vols. And I think it's the same thing why Tennessee played in Nashville. Like, some people, it's a little bit harder to commute to Knoxville than it is to a Nashville, where there's just so many more flights and stuff like that to get in. So Danny White has always been a trailblazer, a guy that kind of likes to kick down doors and open up new avenues. And I feel like he's done that with Tennessee. And having a game inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium, one of the best stadiums I've ever been in. I've watched a lot of games, a lot of different venues. Mercedes-Benz Stadium is awesome. I'm all for the matchup at the beginning of the season. I know Syracuse isn't that appealing, but it's hard to predict what these teams are going to look like when you schedule these games.
Yeah, and thank you again, Roberto, for the call here. I just think I'm not currently enthused about Syracuse, Tennessee, and Atlanta on August 30th at noon, but I know dang well at 9 a.m. that Saturday.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to be pacing around the house. I'm going to be just absolutely fired up that football is back, and I'm just going to love every second of it. I'm just going to be super excited that Tennessee football is back. And I think this year in particular, of the big three, I just have I don't want to say lowest expectations. I just am not going into this season in particular just being like, this team, if everything hits right, that this team can really run the gauntlet. It's like, no, I don't think Tennessee can win the national championship this year. I don't think that's in the cards. And I think this is kind of a transition year. I think you and I have talked about this. I think 26 and 27 is shaping up to be a Clemson-Michigan type run for Tennessee if they all develop and they keep retaining these guys, that they're going to have the right guys at the years they need them to be, like David Sanders in year 3 at that point, year 2 Faison potentially, or a year 4 Jake. Like there's a point where I think in 26 and 27 they're going to be older because they're a younger team. Adam Sparks laid this out in the Knoxville News Sentinel this week, that it's not a transition year because they've built the floor so high, but I do think the ceiling is so capped this year in particular that I'm just going to enjoy every game for what it is. I think Tennessee's going to win a lot of football games this year. I think the defense is going to be awesome. I think it's still going to be more often than not pretty fun. Heupel's lost one home game in the last 3 years, so I know when I go to Neyland, chances are I'm going to see Tennessee win, and all 100,000 plus feel pretty good there outside of the Georgia game, I would imagine. But basketball and baseball is different. Like I will be going into men's basketball and baseball this year. Like I think this team can either make the Final Four or win another national title, and in both sports. And I think that's where I'm more like, all right, like I'm fired up. Like this team has a real shot. Football, I'm like, I'm just happy it's back and I'm going to enjoy every second of it. I have no big time expectations.
I think that's a fair analysis there. And I mean, obviously, being in the SEC and being a fan of a big program like Tennessee, you're always somewhere in the back of your head. I know you're saying that Tennessee's not going to win one this year, but there's an inkling in the back of your head that says somehow, some way Tennessee might find a way. And that's what makes SEC football fun, because almost every team outside of, Diego Pavia thinks at least Vanderbilt could win one this year, but like almost every SEC team outside of Vanderbilt believes they could possibly win a national championship that season. And that's the fun of it. But then going to, basketball and baseball, not a lot of other teams in the SEC can, really say that, like with a prideful chest that I believe, my team is going to win. Tennessee could win, the national championship in basketball. And you talk about Nate Ament and all these other guys. And in baseball, you just did it 2 seasons ago. So look, it's a good time to be a Tennessee Vol, but I know somewhere in your head, Chase, there's an inkling that says Tennessee might be able to win a national championship in football this season.
You've seen those comparisons to 1998 on Twitter, haven't you?
Oh, gosh.
To this year?
Yes.
Have you not seen those?
No,
getting blown out by a Big Ten team. Another one was like going 10-2, heading into 1998.
Open it up with Syracuse.
I have seen the Syracuse one.
Quarterback leaves.
Yeah, we didn't win the Natty with Peyton. We won it with T. Martin. So maybe this is the next T. Martin this year.
Who's T. Martin in this scenario?
Joey Aguilar.
That's wrong. That's one wrong answer.
Yeah, that's
Or
you're not
Jake
getting
Merklinger.
this side of the glass is not teaming up on the Joey Aguilar front here.
Keep in mind the guy that came in, T. Martin won a transfer.
Yes,
Jake Merklinger is not a transfer. They were
Well,
backing
I mean,
up.
I'm just making the statement. You know, it's not the T. Martin wasn't necessarily the 5-star guy that you thought was going to get you the national championship. And he had a run in the NFL for a couple seasons, but he didn't really have a professional football career. And they just had a very good team. I mean, he was a good quarterback, obviously, but they had a very good team that year that was very deep. And
they're pretty deep at a lot of other spots, though.
Well, yeah, no, and I'm not saying that this team's going to win.
Receivers are pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not going to say this team's
pretty established.
These
These are just the comparisons.
I don't feel like 98 at all.
No, I don't either. I'm just saying,
yeah,
there's that one little piece in the back of your brain that thinks it may happen. I think the Syracuse game will be a little more fun, though, than people think it's going to be. 13.5 point spread. I don't know. I think you'd have to play really good to cover that spread there to win by 2 touchdowns. I think, obviously they don't have Trevor Pena. They don't have Kyle McCord. They don't have a lot of the guys that they had last year. But Ricky Collins or Steve Angeli could both be an interesting quarterback. The first game of the season is always usually a little sloppy. I think it could be an interesting game that if Tennessee wins by 10 points, I mean, I think you still feel pretty good coming out of it, as long as you're in control the whole game and stay ahead.
I just have we don't even know who quarterback one's going to be. So I'm not even mentally ready to start previewing how I think that game's going to ultimately go. But I do know in agreement. I think we're all in agreement here. August 30th, that morning, we're fired up and we're just anything is possible. It's like the whole Kevin Durant meme or Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, Kevin Garnett. There you go.
Where he's like, anything is possible. That's how we're all going to be feeling. I mean, with that being said, still, I will feel differently. I think William and I are on the same page. It just feels different. I mean, ESPN ranking Nate Ament as the top freshman in the country, most likely this season. It's just different. Shump made a great comparison to what this team is ultimately going to be on the basketball front in what you saw with Brandon Miller and Mark Sears at Alabama, that Final Four team 2 years ago. I think that's a great and apt comparison for what Tennessee can be with the Gillespie-Ament combination. I feel really good about those two and just where Tennessee's ultimately going to be in the basketball front. And I just think baseball, getting Henry Ford to campus is just so huge. And this team is just stacked. Tennessee and Tony Vitello have done such a great job stacking this 26 team that I don't know. I'll be going in I'm ready to go. I'm fired up for baseball. I'm fired up for basketball, but I do know it will be nice to go into football just being I know we have a high floor. I know we're not going to implode. I know we're going to be okay. I know the defense can be okay. Heupel protects home field. We're going to have some great memories, but I also hey, if Aguilar or Merklinger hit and we have a quarterback of the future in Merck, or Joey Aguilar is just the latest Dalton Connect, Chaz Lanier, 1 year wonder, Billy Amick, those kind of guys, he just has that 1 year and takes off and that's it. That's also awesome. We're not rooting against Joey Aguilar or anything like that, but it is one of those where I have my doubts. William has his doubts on that front, but if it works out, I'm going to be enjoying every second of it because Joey's a competent dude, and Joey, if it works out, will be a whole heck of a lot of fun being a good quarterback at Tennessee, because I think he will eat it up in a similar way that Diego eats it up. It's just it's just so different in terms of how it's going to go. I don't think there is any way it is Joey was fine. I don't think that is a scenario that plays out for Tennessee in 2025. Either Joey is a hit and a great plug-and-play guy, or this implodes in a hurry and we're starting Jake Merklinger after the bye week against Arkansas.
I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that in terms of Joey's fine, because I felt like Joe Milton was fine.
A lot older, though. Or I guess Joe Milton he had 3 years in the system by that point, though. Joe Milton,
that is true.
Joe Milton was not fine in 2021. I don't know.
Not in 2021, but in 2023, I thought Joe Milton was fine.
Right. But Jake has 2 months to get fine. Joe had 3 years to get fine.
Sure. No.
In 21, I don't think that early on. I mean, I was in the building. There were Harrison Bailey chants in my section in that Pitt game, the overthrows and the issues there. It did not look promising. I think if Milton is QB1, it's a huge what if Milton doesn't get hurt. How long does Heupel continue to roll with Joe in 2021? Because I don't know. I have my doubts.
It could be fine, though, because it's a different situation. But as we've said, Hendon and Milton both cut down on turnovers when they come here. If Aguilar cuts down on turnovers, like he very well could be fine. Like he's not going to be a top 5 quarterback in the SEC, but he's also probably not going to be a bottom 5 quarterback in the SEC if that happens. He's just going to be somewhere around.
But he's going to take those chances. I just don't see how you're going to be able to deprogram him from taking those chances and trusting his arm over the middle, trusting his arm down the field. I just think at his age and his experience, he's going to do what got him there. Like he's going to freelance. I just don't see a way that Joey Aguilar, if he's the quarterback 1, is not freelancing.
Well, my biggest argument to that is I just think Heupel's always put guys in a system, very structured, read 1, read 2, read 3, not there, check down, not there, run. I don't want to say baby him or like training wheels type of deal, but I do think early on Heupel's not going to put him in many opportunities to put a risky ball up in the air. Now, maybe as the season goes on and you have to reach a possible ceiling of what this team is, you see that happen, but I don't know. I think the turnovers will come down a good bit.
When we come back, Lindsey Crosby of Braves Today will join us to talk about what the Atlanta Braves are going to do here at the trade deadline and what has been just a truly horrible Atlanta Braves season. And we'll talk about that and what the Braves options are here going into the trade deadline at the end of July. Stick with us. It's The Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app.
It's time for a vodka soda made with talking White Claw vodka soda made with White Claw premium vodka. JB Smooth only drinks vodka soda made with the world's smoothest vodka.
And you can too. Pick you up a bottle of the triple wave filtered vodka that's been distilled 5 times. White Claw premium vodka comes in 4 flavors: black cherry, mango, pineapple, and just vodka. You haven't had vodka like this. No one has. White Claw premium vodka. Please drink responsibly.
Hungry for some mouth-watering barbecue? Then take the quick drive up I-75 to Rickard Ridge for some of the best barbecue you'll ever have. Fall off the bone, Memphis-style baby back ribs, slow-smoked chicken thighs, and fresh hand-cut steaks. Rickard Ridge has something for everyone. Located in Cove Lake State Park with a spectacular view of the Cumberland Mountains, Rickard Ridge. It's more than just dinner, it's a destination. Check out their full menu and catering options online at rickardridgebbq.com.
Believe in family. Believe in your fellow man. Believe in honesty and an honest day's work. We do. We're Farm Bureau Insurance. And we don't just believe in Tennessee. We believe in Tennesseans. Farm Bureau Insurance. Tennessee's insurance company.
This is Baseball VFL Cody Brown. Farm Bureau Insurance is the official insurance for Tennesseans. Believe in me for all of your insurance needs. Give me a call at 865-992-3871.
Barley's has live music on weekends, general team trivia on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., and now live sports trivia courtesy of the Knoxville Trivia Guys every Thursday night upstairs. The game starts at 7 p.m. and is free to play for everyone, so head on down to the Old City and show off your sports knowledge and win gift cards to Barley's. Use those gift cards to buy some delicious food and drinks, and you can take it all in with their wide selection of TVs and indoor projectors. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game. Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Whether you are buying or selling a home or even looking for some land to build on and start a family, be sure to give Reed Emerson with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Heritage Group a shout. He is a longtime listener and supporter of Fan Run and has been serving the Mid-State for many years. Reed prides himself on his hassle-free and honest approach, and that's because he's not just chasing another commission. He wants what is best for his clients. Give Reed Emerson a call or text him today to get the process started. His number is 931-492-0418, or you can find him online at bhgheritagegroup.com.
It's The Chase! It's The Chase! Live 1 to 3, Monday through Friday on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Listen to Chase and his friends on WKG. It's The Chase. It's the Scruffy City. Listen to his friends, and his friends are on WKGN. I'm always taking your calls on the Tennessee Vols. It's the Chase. It's the Chase. It's the Chase.
It's the Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app. On the line right now, an excellent Braves writer, podcaster, all over the place. We won't talk about the Auburn aspect to Lindsey Crosby's fandom, but Lindsey Crosby joining us here at the top of hour number 2, right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville. Lindsey, good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. And it's okay. There's times when Auburn also makes me not want to talk about the Auburn side of the fandom.
So basically, like the last, half decade of Auburn football?
I'm a big baseball guy.
Yeah.
I'm a big baseball guy.
Well, we'll see if that keeps it going. I mean, baseball had a great year this year for the Tigers, so we'll see. And the very competitive top of the SEC, and see if they're going to be able to replicate that in 26. But we're here to talk about the Atlanta Braves that you cover exceptionally well each and every day, all across Substack, the podcast front, your post gamers, and all of that. But Lindsey, you do a great job. So I wanted to pick your brain on just what are the Braves going to do here over the next week?
So the goal for the team, the stated goal for the team is win as many games as possible, right? Which is anathema to the idea of get a high draft pick, but they want to finish the year with momentum. We're all watching the trade deadline, though. We know that Raisel Iglesias is going to get moved because everybody needs a reliever. And yes, he's had some blowups recently, but all of the underlying metrics are still really good with the exception of the slider. There's been a report just recently, conversation has picked up around Marcell Ozuna. So we expect him to be moved at some point in time. The return there is questionable. He is owed a significant amount of money, but Atlanta has the money to pay that down to get a better return. The big question that I have is some of the other pieces that they don't have to move, but they could. Reliever Pierce Johnson has a club option. He's looked really good. Lefty Aaron Bummer. Lefty relievers are always in demand. Do they move him ahead of his $9.5 million salary next year? So could be 2 guys leaving, could be 4 or 5. We're just kind of waiting to see between now and Thursday.
Oh, Garrett, you're muted.
Hey, Lindsey, this is Garrett. Sorry, I was muted there for a second. Obviously, the season's kind of been just, one thing after another. The injury bugs kind of hit the team. I know the other day they basically said that all 9 guys that were part of the starting team on opening day were basically not able to play. A couple of days ago, just how much do you think you have to just flush this season out the window before you go into 2026? Obviously, people are calling for Snit to be fired. And how much do you think that you just have to kind of say, this team won a World Series just a few years ago. They've obviously had some really unfortunate injury situations this year and just reset before next season, or are you much more concerned for 2026 as well?
You're absolutely right that the core is the same basic core that you won with in 2021, more so on the position player side than the pitching side. But I do think it would be a little bit of a disservice if the Braves were to just chalk up this season to injuries like you did last season. A lot of the injuries last year hit the position player group, right? Whether it was Ronald Acuna Jr., it was Austin Riley, it was Sean Murphy missing time, all of that stuff. They got a grand total of 5 innings together from their opening day lineup last year. This year was a lot of underperformance by the healthy position players who were in the lineup earlier in the year. Now, Jurickson Profar suspension didn't help with that, but we haven't really seen the offense pick it up and look better until post All-Star break. So now the pitching injuries are a problem. To your point, all 5 opening day starters from the rotation are on the 60-day IL. First time I can ever remember seeing that happen to one team. But I do think they need to kind of separate the injuries from what happened to the position players and how do we fix it? How do we get Michael Harris going? He's made some mechanical changes recently. We broke that down over on Braves Today. Getting Ozzy Albies going. Austin Riley had a big game last night. Fixing some of that stuff is kind of the focus here for the rest of 25, so that in 26, they can be hopefully back to full health and standard performance and get back to competing for a World Series like we all expected this year.
This is Jay speaking. When going back to the trade deadline, who are some potential prospects that you would like to see play for the Braves?
So there's most of this is going to be on the pitching side, right? And part of that is you have a lot of healthy position players, but J.R. Ritchie is one of the organization's top pitching prospects. He's made 2 starts now in AAA, and he's looked pretty comfortable at the highest level of the minors. I don't want to rush him, but I do think you need to get him a look in 2025. For the relievers, Hayden Harris, Giancarlo Solara, both of those guys, Giancarlo Solara is a flame-throwing righty. Hayden Harris is a softer-throwing lefty. But both of those guys are Rule 5 eligible this winter. You have to make a decision on them at some point in time. And so it makes sense to go ahead and make it now at the trade deadline. If you clear up 2 bullpen spots, let those 2 guys be the guys that come up so you can evaluate them ahead of the Rule 5 protection deadline this winter. But it's mostly going to be pitchers. And honestly, most of it for me is going to be relief options. That's where you're going to have the most turnover. Let's let those kids come up, see how they can hang in the majors, and figure out, can they be part of your bullpen next year, so you can figure out how much money you have to spend rebuilding that unit.
Lindsay, do you think Michael Harris II getting back on track is obviously a great development for the Braves, but is there some part of you, maybe it's a cynical part of just, hey, we went through this kind of with Jeff Francoeur many years ago. It would be hard to part with somebody like Michael Harris, but his trade value just plummeted over the summer, but it seems like he's finding his footing. Is this an opportunity where the trade deadline being Thursday, you sniff around to see what folks might give up for a Michael Harris II that believe in him, as there's him being able to get to that star status that we thought he might be able to reach a couple of years ago? Or do you think the Braves should still, just because the contract's so good and that he's figuring some stuff out, that this feels sustainable and they should just keep him long term?
In Michael's case, I think because of the way that he improved, like we saw significant mechanical changes, 2 or 3 different things that he was doing, and we now see the correlation. I still think he can get back to closer to that star place that we were. But to your point on the contract and everything, his average annual salary across the length of the deal is, I believe it's around $9 million. And so if you end up having to carry Michael Harris as your number 9 hitter or a 4th outfielder, it's a cheap enough deal where you can still do that. And so because of it, why sell low on him now? I do think, given how hot he is in the second half every year, if that holds, if you are interested in moving on from that long-term deal, getting out from under that money, maybe wait until the offseason when you can involve more clubs and you can have a little bit better interest for his services, as well as make a backup plan to replace him, because he is one of the best defensive center fielders in baseball, and you just don't have anybody on the roster who can give that same contribution. So I'm not opposed to the concept. I'd rather keep him, but if you're going to move him, let him rebuild more value and do it in the winter.
We're all operating under the assumption that Snit is not back next season. It just feels like a retirement. Like it's just the way the season has gone, that you want to turn the page and have a fresh start here. But you have the report of Skip Shoemaker being the potential guy for Atlanta in 2026. Is that your favorite in the clubhouse? Is it Walt Weiss as an in-house guy who's managed before? Do you try and see what Ron Washington is doing over there in LA? Do you go the Osmus route? Because everyone does the Tobias Fuke deal when it comes to Brad Osmus. It feels like where it didn't work for that team, but it might work for us in terms of the Osmus experience. But who makes the most sense to you? Is it Skip?
To me, I think right now it probably is Skip. And I think that's simply because there's a desire from a lot of, and this is a lot of fans more so than anything, but there's a desire to get outside of what's worked in the past. When you have a long-term roster like this that struggles over multiple seasons, the offense wasn't great last year before all the injuries, especially early in the year. When you have a long-term roster that struggles, the thought process is do something that makes everybody a little bit uncomfortable, a voice from the outside with more authority. I do like the idea of Skip. I do think Walt Weiss is the number 1 candidate if you want to stay inside the same coaching tree, the Brian Sittker, Bobby Cox coaching tree. I do think splitting the difference, though, someone like David Ross could be of interest as a bridge between those 2 groups. He has experience with a lot of the same players from Atlanta and a lot of that stuff. He also is still an outside voice. He's managed other places. I do think that's a little bit of a crossover there, but I like the idea of Skip. If Joe Madden wanted to come back, I wouldn't be opposed to that. And I do think, given how unique he was in Atlanta, if Ron Washington became available, they would at least speak to him, although I don't know if he'd end up getting the managerial spot versus just a base coach position.
Yeah, and to put a bow on just the this season has been for Brian Snitker and company. I mean, is this something where Alex Anthopoulos and ownership really have to just say, hey, like we have to do some real deep soul searching here going into winter meetings and everything else? Or to you, do you feel like this is just a blip and they can operate as it being a blip where we tried to avoid the third year in a row where you get hit with the ramifications there of hitting that certain number 3 years in a row that they avoided this year?
The CBT, the luxury tax.
Yes, yeah. So they avoided it
this
year.
Yeah,
and now they can go back next year. So they don't get the heavy penalty. So I think the assumption is the Braves spend more this winter, right? Like I think that's every Braves fan is looking to this winter as like, hey, the Braves are going to get back on track. They're going to take it seriously again in the spending front. Or do you think, man, we have to really consider, like, what is Austin Riley at this point? Where do we go with Sean Murphy? Where do we go with Michael Harris? Where do we go with some of our starters? Like, do you think they need that kind of deep dive, or does your gut say that this is a blip and they just need to make some minor tweaks and just get healthy in 2026 with some still key additions? Maybe that's at second base or wherever.
My gut is they try to make a couple splashes in free agency, probably one position player, right? Is it second base? Is it center field? Is it somebody who can swing between left field and DH, that kind of stuff? And they probably make a splash in the pitching market. You mentioned reset of the CBT. That means your qualifying offer penalties are a lot smaller. So if you want to sign a Framber Valdez, a Dylan Cease, who's a local boy, things like that, it becomes possible and you have money coming off the books where you could afford it. But to your original question, if you have one more year of stumbles like this, I think you enter a situation where nobody is safe, right? Alex Anthopoulos has been insistent now for all the time I've been covering this team. They would not trade anybody on a long-term deal. They don't give out no trade clauses because there's an inherent understanding. You sign long-term, you're a Brave for life until the contract runs out. But he did leave the caveat of significant underperformance. And I think if this happens one more year, if 26 is a year where you're fighting to be around 500 and you can't really challenge for the division, I do think that's when some of the sacred cows of, hey, do we move on from Austin Riley or Sean Murphy or whoever it is? I do think that becomes more of a conversation. But the gut feeling I have from being around this team is they're going to kind of rally. They're going to try to reload and give it one more run with the same core of guys next season before they make any drastic changes.
Lindsey Crosby, Braves Today. You can read him over there on Substack. You can listen to his podcast, Braves Today, as well. He does post-gamers on Locked On Braves. Lindsey, thank you so much for the insight and taking time out of your day to join us right here on The Chase.
It's always great to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
Lindsey Crosby, Braves Today, joining us here on The Chase on this fine Tuesday afternoon. Appreciate Lindsey and all of his great Braves coverage. I felt a little bit more optimistic after our conversation going into 2026. Feel a little bit. We're still kind of rocky, but it's a weird spot as a Braves fan to just go into next season with so much uncertainty, and this season being what it is for the Braves. A lost one. First one in 8 years here. But when we come back, we'll talk to G5 Garrett and get the South Alabama update as we continue on our Sunbelt preview. We'll also talk about Cordero Patterson and what he would have been like here at Tennessee and with his NFL career kind of, I guess, in question at this point. A great long NFL career, but we'll see if he's able to find another landing spot here before the regular season gets started, and a whole lot more right here on The Chase. Stick with us. 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app.
For the fans, by the fans, this is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Citizens National Bank. You want a bank that lets you bank when and where you want to. Your local branch, the grocery store, your computer, your phone, it's up to you. You want people who care about taking care of you and your money too. Citizens National Bank. Banking never felt so good.
Okay, so we really need uniforms and equipment for this season. Can I trust you with that? Cool, I'll just order them online. What? Yeah, I'm going to hop online and I'm going to get them ordered. Hold up. That's not a good idea. We shouldn't just spend money on some random online retailer, okay? I mean, it seems pretty convenient. Trust me, it's a terrible idea. Let me simplify this for you. SM Athletics. Okay, how do you pronounce it? SM Athletics? They're the go-to for uniforms and equipment, whether it's for universities, high schools, youth leagues, you name it. So So why wouldn't you rather go with professionals who can guide us through the process, design the perfect uniforms, and deliver the best equipment? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. What's the name again? SM Athletics. Right. It's definitely smarter to go with a company that emphasizes customer service, fair pricing, and, of course, excellent products. Exactly. So, yeah, I guess it's settled then. For uniforms and equipment for all sports, it's SM Athletics.
Believe in family. Believe in your fellow man. Believe in honesty and an honest day's work. We do. We're Farm Bureau Insurance. And we don't just believe in Tennessee. We believe in Tennesseans. Farm Bureau Insurance, Tennessee's insurance company.
This is Baseball VFL Cody Brown. Farm Bureau Insurance is the official insurance for Tennesseans. Believe in me for all of your insurance needs. Give me a call at 865-992-3871.
Yo, what is up with it, homies? Talk sports. That's the show you want. It's the longest running sports radio morning show in town. You want your radio shows to be fun, and that's what Talk Sports is. Fun. No weirdo callers. I think Tennessee gonna go 6-6 this year. No nerdy guests. Now their receiver depth is a little bit thin. Just two of the most entertaining guys in town, and Bubba giving you what you need. Tune in 7 to 10 a.m. every weekday here on Fan Run Radio.
Ready to launch your career? Axle Logistics is a leading third-party logistics company where excellence is an energy. With an award-winning culture, Axle proves that positive outcomes come from a positive environment and a work hard, play hard mentality. At Axle, the drive for success is infectious. And with an uncapped commission structure, hard work isn't just noticed, it's rewarded. For those with big goals and even bigger dreams, Axle Logistics is the place to start your career.
Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app. William Pattison in studio with us here on a Tuesday. He's also hosting VIP's Play the Slates at 6 to 7 right here on Fan Run Radio, and also Overtime, William Pattison from 7 to 8. So make sure you lock in with William tonight from 6 to 8 right here on Fox Sports Knoxville. We continue on here with G5 Garrett, more like G6 Garrett, as he pointed out last week. We're going to get some sound effects here for G6 Garrett as we continue on and make this a weekly staple right here on the program. But we're almost done with the Sun Belt. We still got Troy, ULM to go, I think is it, if I'm not mistaken. But South Alabama, the Jaguars here. Garrett, what do you have for us with the Jags? Good year on the way. What's up with them?
Yeah, so obviously they came off a 7-6 season last year, won a bowl game. So it was a pretty solid season for a first-year coaching hire, and Major Applewhite had some success at Houston a handful of years ago, came over to South Alabama. They had obviously two really explosive players on the offensive side of the ball, Gio Lopez, who went over to UNC. He's going to most likely be their QB1. And then Fluff Bothwell, who was their elite running back, who had over 12 touchdowns as a freshman last year. He's now at Mississippi State. So obviously they lose those two guys, but they bring in Zach Pyron, who's a quarterback who played at Georgia Tech. I know, Chase, you might know a little bit about him. He was pretty solid 2 years ago, didn't really play much with Hayes King being the starter there last year. But it'll be between him and Bishop Davenport, who was their QB2 last year behind Gio Lopez for the QB1 position this year. He had 606 passing yards last year, started their bowl game. He's kind of a dual threat guy, can run the ball and pass the ball. Their main returner that they'll have back will be Kentrell Bullock, who was their running back 2 last year, but he had 830 rushing yards, 7 TDs, and over 5 yards per carry. And then they also bring back P.J. Martin, who was a freshman last year at 7.5 yards per carry. So those are pretty good backs that they have. Should be a pretty deep running back room. Devin Voisin was their wide receiver that they really wanted to keep. He didn't have a great year last year, only 400 receiving yards, but in 2022 he had 800 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. He was a highly coveted guy in the portal, ended up staying with South Alabama, so that was pretty big for them. And they returned a pretty good group of offensive linemen from last year. And then through the portal, they went out and got Keenan Phillips, who was a JUCO All-American, 868 rushing yards last year, 19 TDs, 219 receiving yards to add to that running back room. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they lose a handful of players, Jordan Scruggs to West Virginia, Marion Fortenberry to Kansas State. So they had some guys go, Power 4 from there that played their way from South Alabama last year. They bring in Tyrell Johnson, who's going to be their number 1 edge guy, 45 tackles and 6.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks last year in D2 ball. So he's going to be their number 1 edge rusher out of the portal. They also bring in a lot of Power 4 talent from guys that didn't necessarily get a whole lot of starting reps at their previous institution. But they do return Wesley Miller, who's one of the top safeties in the Sun Belt last year, 40 solo tackles. And they bring back one of the top linebackers in the conference as well. So their defense should be pretty solid. Their offense looks like maybe won't be as explosive as last year, but they still have a pretty good group of guys. Their over-under win total right now is set at 7.5 by most major sports books. Looking at their schedule, they do have a pretty tough schedule. They get Tulane, Auburn, and Coastal Carolina all in the first 4 weeks of the season. North Texas, who could be interesting this year. They have an explosive offense. They'll play them. They'll play our guy Butch Jones at Arkansas State toward the middle of the season, Georgia State, Louisiana, UL Monroe, Southern Miss, and then probably the best team in the West, Texas State, who might win the Sun Belt this year, the final week of the season. So they'll have to play good football if they're going to want to hit the over of 8 wins. It's going to be tough to do, but they should be an intriguing team to watch.
So what's your pick? Do they hit the over or no?
I think they're going to go the under. I would have them probably winning. When I was looking at their schedule, I had them going like 6-6 most likely.
Okay. There you go. G5 Garrett, great stuff as always, sir. On the Tennessee front, Cordero Patterson, he tweeted out here yesterday morning, breaking news, Pittsburgh Steelers release old washed up Cordero Patterson on his day off. Sad, but he's been in the league for over a decade. He has really found his footing. I really enjoyed the Arthur Smith, Cordero Patterson Atlanta Falcons team. That was one of the fun parts of it, was just their wrecking ball status and how CP was used in Atlanta, and getting to have CP play for my team for a little bit was a really cool experience, even if it was a different CP. But I think he deserves all kinds of credit. He kind of had that Velus Jones transition for the NFL. Velus has now kind of a running back, I guess, more so than a wide receiver that he was at Tennessee. Kind of that bowling ball type of guy as he puts on more weight and more muscle in the NFL. But Cordero is definitely one of the first guys you think of at 34 years old, where, man, that what he would have looked like at Tennessee over a decade ago in this scheme in particular. He's definitely one of the ones, when you think 21st century guys, that would have really thrived in this era. And it's not like he didn't thrive when he was at Tennessee, but you still think, man, him in the slot, or even him on the outside, and all the different stuff they could do, and how Hype will utilize Velus Jones. If you're able to utilize Cordero and a souped up version of that, he would have been a whole heck of a lot of fun on a winning team.
Does he have any eligibility left? We've got some spots on this team to possibly play some wide receiver. But look, Cordero Patterson was, just a guy kind of before his time for Heupel. Talk about a guy that would have fit in so well with this offense. A guy that can do a little bit of everything as a running back, as a wide receiver, as a guy inside, as a guy outside. It doesn't matter where you put him. Cordero Patterson could make a play, and he did that for much of his time in the NFL as well. I think he is one of the most overshadowed players in Tennessee history, just because of where Tennessee football was at the time when he was playing. Like, if he were on like that 2022 team, like Cordero Patterson would have been like, still people would be talking about him. Like people talk about Jalen Hyatt and his, 5 touchdown performance against Alabama. I feel like if Patterson were on better Tennessee teams, then he would definitely be propped up as, one of the, I still think he is propped up as one of the best, wide receivers or playmakers that Tennessee has had over the last 10, 15 years. But just imagine what the opinion of him would be if he were on a really, really good team. And like these teams that Josh Heupel has consistently brought to Tennessee over the last couple of years, contending for college football playoff bids and being one of the top teams in the country. It just, you hate it when guys like that are so talented that kind of get put on bad teams per se. Maybe not bad teams, but like just mediocre teams.
They were pretty bad. In 2012, they won 1 game in the SEC.
Yeah.
1,800 all-purpose yards in 2012.
Yeah.
On a team that went 1-7 in SEC.
Oh, that is pretty bad. I didn't have that in front of me. I should have. Errors and omissions, folks. It was bad. I was trying to, sometimes over time you forget how bad things were.
That that feels like forever ago. But I mean, it's a testament to Cordero that he made the best of a bad situation. Imagine what he could have done on a good team during that time period. But yeah, Cordero is definitely one of the first guys I think of in terms of, man, it would have been really fun. He hasn't. Am I crazy? Do y'all remember when was the last time he was back or honored at a Tennessee football game? I feel like we haven't seen Cordero back in a while. Does anything ring a bell there for y'all?
Maybe 2021, like when maybe Heupel had first gotten there. He might have come back because I mean he was still playing.
Yeah,
and it might have been one of his bye weeks.
Because Kamara's been back, and Kamara, I mean, he's got signage.
Kamara's been back a couple of times.
When you get signage outside Neyland,
oh yeah,
you got to come back. Like that's part of the deal. If we're giving you signage, you got to come back, Alvin.
Yeah,
but and Kamara's another good one, right? Like when you think of just, granted, he was great at Tennessee while he was here, but man, light boxes, wide splits with Alvin Kamara in the middle. Oof. I mean, it's great for Tennessee too that these guys have the kind of longevity that they have in the league. Where Kamara is he's coming up on 10 years, right? He's been in the league at least 8. What are we looking at? 9?
He was drafted in 17, right?
Yeah. It would have been 17. Yeah. 2016 was his last year with so it would have been 17.
And he's still playing at an effective rate. He's breaking down a little bit, but I mean, he's 30 and he's defying. Like Derrick Henry gets all the love for just being one of the few running backs who are able to withstand just the back half of your 20s and go into your 30s and still be an elite back. Alvin Kamara deserves his flowers. So Tennessee, great, kind of advertising for the Tennessee football program that Cordero and Alvin have been able to maintain their high level of play going into their 30s in the NFL.
Yeah, I happened to go down the rabbit hole the other night of watching old Tennessee games from like 2015, 2016. And Alvin Kamara against Texas A&M was one of the games I came upon. And I mean, talk about a guy that just was so elusive and had great footwork to where he was able to stay on balance. It didn't matter who was trying to wrap him up. He was always able to stay on his feet and fight for those extra yards. And in a system like this where, you just get the ball in his hands and let him make a play, you'd have a ton of success here. But, I mean, some of it kind of reminds me a little bit of Dylan Sampson. Maybe not as elusive, but like the way that Sampson was able to fight for those extra yards. He had that coveted spin where he could kind of get like 2 or 3 more yards by just staying above ground and stuff like that. If you're able to have a guy like Alvin Kamara fit right into that, I mean, talk about the amount of plays that could have been made in this Josh Heupel system.
Yeah, no, Kamara he was like the finesse, right? It just looked clean. Like Kamara it looked easy for him. How, like, you talk about the spin and just how he was able to evade. Like, he just made it look so much easier than it actually is. It's another weird, or I guess kind of interesting nugget here is that Cordero and Alvin both came from the same community college before they got to Tennessee at Hutchinson.
Yeah.
So they both came in from
Hutchinson. That was a powerhouse.
Yeah. But it's just interesting, one after the other. And you know what? This is one of those things about getting older. You guys will understand this in due time. But Cordero Patterson, he's talking about him being old and washed up here in his tweet. I just double checked his age. He is 1 month older than me. And the way that everyone talks about Cordero is like just broken down, just old, broken. It's over.
Well, Trace, you haven't been getting hit for all these years.
I know, but
that's a good point.
But you just hear it in the way we talk about athletes, and it's like when you get to that age, you're like, man, they're talking about this guy like, oh, it's over. Like, where's the cane for CP84? It's just, and you're like, man, he's only a month older than me, and everyone talks about Cordero like it's just washed up, and I'm like, hey, hold on. 34 is not that bad. 34 is fine.
It's washed for an athlete.
One of my favorite, to pertain to this, one of my favorite sayings would be, he's on the wrong side of 30. Like, like the guy's 30 years old, still like, still in good shape. But you're like, oh gosh, that guy's on the wrong side of 30.
It happens quick, man. You wake up one day and you look over and you're like, oh God, hold on. I'm how old? And this guy is what? And we're talking about him. It's tough. Tough scene.
Well, and especially wide receiver. I mean, that's not a position you really see too many guys, maybe DeAndre Hopkins or somebody like that. It's one of those guys that have gone further than most people.
But the way they talk about him, like DeAndre is still on a roster this year. They're going to talk about it, be like, what an effort by this mid-30s man to play football at an elite level.
Running back is completely different, though, because you just take so many hits to the legs and so many, you're blocking on a play when you're not running the ball. It's just like, that's such a cruel, it's just grueling on your body doing that over and over and over again.
And the other thing,
I mean, even like Jawan Jennings now, he's
Yeah.
getting to his late 20s. That would have been another fun guy to see in this offense.
Yeah. Jawan, I don't know. Would Jawan have been fun in this offense?
I mean, I just look at Jawan as a guy that it was just a reliable target, and I think
Yeah.
he really could have used that last year. I mean, I wouldn't per se fun, but just a guy that would have most definitely got involved and been very productive. Like fun would have been more Kamara and Patterson. Like that's fun, elusive plays, stuff like that. Jennings was just more put the ball up in the air, he'll go get it.
Yeah.
That's what we would have needed, though. Like,
Yeah,
we could have had that. I mean, that
yeah.
would have been. I mean, you can always have that. That would be nice. I mean, when you watch like the Hail Mary, like he was just the most athletic guy on the field that
Yeah.
play. Like he just went up and got it. Like that was just. I mean, no one else was going to catch that ball. He just went up and got it. Like he was the best player there.
Many forget he played quarterback in high school.
I know he did. He's from Memphis. He
Yeah.
played at Germantown, and I know one of my 8th grade coaches went to high school with him. So like that was my connection to him because I was in 8th grade when he was playing.
Yeah.
At Tennessee, but I think he got in a little bit of trouble at Germantown. I can't remember if he got kicked out or not, but he had a little bit of an incident like as a high schooler.
He's always kind of had that persona, though. He had like that incident at the Vandy game in like 2017 on the sideline where he like, what did he do? Like stepped on somebody like intentionally. Remember that?
Oof. That's a while ago. I have to go back. I don't
Yeah.
remember it that clearly.
And he had an incident this past season, I believe, with the 49ers.
Yeah, I
Got in
think
some
he
kind of
did.
skirmish with someone.
And then he was like, he wanted out of the 49ers this year. Like
Yeah.
he was asking for a trade. So I mean, he's always kind of been, I don't know what the label of it is. Like if he's on your team, you love him. If he's not on your team, you probably.
He's a little mercurial, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's just, you love him when he's on your team, and you probably
Yeah.
don't like him too much when he's not on your team. So
It's probably true.
Yeah.
But who's another guy, Jay, in terms of like over the years that you would have liked to have seen in the Heupel scheme?
Honestly, Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
I think so. Arian Foster, too.
Arian, you know, it's interesting. Like what we haven't seen a whole lot of with it, because like Arian and Kamara fit this together, is that they were so good catching the ball out of the backfield, especially at the NFL level. And Kamara has just feasted on that at the NFL level. That I wonder if Heupel would have evolved there, because we haven't seen that, whether it's been Jalen, whether it's been Jabari, whether it's been Dylan Sampson. Like that has not been a fixture of the Heupel scheme to this point. And I wonder if he would have evolved, because you get somebody like Kamara in the room, or you get somebody like Arian Foster. It's like, does he adapt to that, or do we still see the same type of deal even with talents like Foster and Kamara? That's an interesting what if, because that is something that we still through 4 years have not seen more of. And when you're struggling, it's like, oh, we thought last year there was a possibility, right, that you would see Dylan Sampson catch more balls out of the backfield and they would prioritize him more there. But that didn't really happen. And this year, I don't expect to see it. Like Bishop's not that guy, and I don't think Peyton Lewis is that guy. So I don't know.
How do you think Heupel would have used Jalen Hurd? Because when you look at Heupel's running backs, Hurd would not fit really any of that build.
I think he'd be in the slot.
Yeah.
I think he would try him in the slot.
I would agree.
And that might have gone better.
Very well could have. 6'4",
30.
240.
Are there any defensive players that you would have been interested to see, like in this defense, opposed to some of the defenses over the past?
Well, I mean, the first one's Derek Barnett. Like Derek Barnett was so good, even as a true freshman. Like Barnett with Garner and company, and just with a good team. Like Derek Barnett for years with this group would have been fantastic.
Eric Berry.
He's pretty good, I've heard. Yeah, Eric Berry would be a lot of fun.
Scary.
You know, it'd be fun. I mean, that's something you haven't seen in this era of Tennessee. Like I'm a big Tennessee or Tim Banks believer, but it's not like you've seen a whole bunch of elite safety play to this point. So yeah, Eric Berry flying around in this defense in the secondary with Tim Banks would be interesting to see how Tim would utilize him. The closest thing we have right now is Boo. He's back. So we'll see what Boo looks like in year 2. But
John Henderson
would be good. John Henderson would be good.
I'm trying to think of more recent guys, like kind of like the 2010s, like Jalen Reeves-Maben.
Yeah.
I mean, Jalen Reeves-Maben had 15 tackles against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Like, talk about a guy who just flew all over the field.
A lot of linebackers who, I mean, Jabari Greer would have been cool.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
His son's at UT.
Yeah. So there's a lot of options here.
Cam Sutton
a little bit. I think that's fine. We'll throw Cam in there. Cam and Bryce. If you're going to go Cam, you go Bryce, or not Bryce, excuse me. Who was the Mosley? Mosley was the opposite, right? Wasn't it Mosley? Opposite of Cam at corner, if I remember correctly.
Are you about to mention Bryce Allegations Thompson?
Oof, no, that
I thought you were about to go down
true
that road.
freshman. Well, no, I was thinking, I was like, yeah, those are, I mean, just the different cornerback combinations you're thinking about, like with Coach William Martinez, like you could throw out. Because right now, man, it's never been better to be a cornerback for the Tennessee Volunteers than where it is right now.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll continue our Nate Ament conversation here. We won't have Graham Hall of Swamp 24/7 joining us here, but we'll have him back later on this week. So we'll continue the Tennessee conversation. You can call us before we wrap up here on a Tuesday at 865-966-3435 is the way to join the program. 865-966-3435 to get in before we wrap up and Russell Smith and the boys take over here at 3 o'clock with The Drive. It's The Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app.
Congratulations. You found sports radio that doesn't suck. This is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Listen up. This is Thomas Miles, nephew Tommy. Okay, now, fellas, let's be adults for a minute. Let me ask you something. When the lights go down in the bedroom, are you still clocking in, or is the equipment on strike? Look, erectile dysfunction is real. It can mess with your mood, your confidence, and don't even talk about the side-eye you get from your lady. But there's good news. Men's Pro Knoxville has licensed medical providers who specialize in turning oh no into let's go. And forget those same old pills. They don't work for everybody. These folks have options most men don't even know exist. Your consultation, just $99. Blood work, consult, and maybe even a test dose if the doc says so. They got an in-house lab, so you'll know where you stand in minutes, not days. So stop stressing. Call 865-544-8220 or hit menspronknoxville.com. Men's Pro Knoxville, making it happen.
Barley's has live music on weekends, general team trivia on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., and now live sports trivia courtesy of the Knoxville Trivia Guys every Thursday night upstairs. The game starts at 7 p.m. and is free to play for everyone, so head on down to the Old City and show off your sports knowledge and win gift cards to Barley's. Use those gift cards to buy some delicious food and drinks, and you can take it all in with their wide selection of TVs and indoor projectors. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria.
Hey Knoxville! Surfside iced tea and vodka made with real brewed tea is only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar with no bubbles and no troubles. That's right, zero carbonation, so it's easy to sip and enjoy. Headed to a game day or party at a friend's house? Bring an iced tea or lemonade variety pack from Surfside or try their green tea and new raspberry tea vodka. Find the can with the sunset stripes this season. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sold at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sunshine in a can. Must be 21 or older. Enjoy responsibly.
Yee-haw! I've been hooting and hollering ever since I started betting with the VIP Play app. VIP Play has more than 200 leagues, every bet type you can imagine, live betting and live hosts, all with 24/7 support from real live people when you need them. Start betting better with the VIP Play app today.
Don't be a better, be a better with VIP Play today.
Download VIP Play today or head to VIPPlayApp.com. Make sure you use the promo code FANRUN to take advantage of their welcome bonus and so they know that we sent you. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-8899-789. Must be 21 or older and located in Tennessee to bet.
Rickard Ridge Barbecue, located in beautiful Cove Lake State Park. Rickard Ridge is home of the best ribs in the Volunteer State. Smoked daily by Pitmaster Mark Rickard. The barbecue at Rickard Ridge is mouth-watering, fall-off-the-bone delicious. Take the scenic drive up I-75 to exit 134. For directions and to look at the rest of the menu, visit Rickard Ridge online at rickardridgebbq.com.
It's The Chase right here on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, and always streaming for free on that Fan Run Radio app. Wrapping up here on hour number 2 with William Pattison of VIP Play, the slate and overtime from 6 to 8, Monday through Friday, right here on Fox Sports Knoxville and Fan Run Radio. As we continue on here, the Nate Ament part of this conversation is really interesting, William, because when you look at how ESPN did this with Jeff Borzello and Myron Metcalf, is they both had different takes. So Myron in particular had the take that Nate Ament will be the best freshman in the country. And there's a lot of big time freshmen. There's AJ over there at BYU.
Yeah.
There's is it Cameron Boozer Cameron Boozer? Yeah. So
and he's at Duke.
Yes.
And then Kansas has got one of the top players in the country as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good class this past year, and now 2 consecutive really strong classes.
Absolutely. And here's what Myron wrote when it came to Nate Ament and his outlook. And it's a great piece over there. You can go check out on ESPN.com. But he said, quote, "When Rick Barnes tells you that a young player will be a star, you should believe him. From Kevin Durant to Dalton Knecht, Barnes has molded some of the top players in the country over the past 30 years. He recently told ESPN that Ament, a possible top 5 pick in next year's NBA draft, could be a special player this season. The 6'9" forward could be the next star under Barnes." And that's high praise. And it's one of those things where you heard Jalen Carey a couple weeks ago calling him a baby Durant, and that conversation's not going to cool off this offseason. Like, we're going to be amped up. We talked about it here at the top of the show, right? Is that this is like, you have high expectations. Tennessee basketball could win a national championship this season if all things go according to plan. This is going to be a very different looking team with Nozakai and Jemai. It's going to look odd early on. It's going to feel very weird. But I just highly encourage folks to lean into the Nate Ament craziness. Lean into having a player who is ranked in the preseason as the #1 freshman in all of college basketball. That's a rarity. Like, this was a huge win that you beat out Duke and other big time programs for this player. You may never get a player this highly ranked at Tennessee again.
Yeah.
This is someone who could go #1 overall in the NBA draft next summer. That is just an unbelievable thing to find yourself in. And when you read this, I don't know how you can't get fired up. It's just, it feels different when it comes to Tennessee basketball this year. Is like, it's going to be unbelievable. We're going to have so many national eyeballs on this group. And it's not just having Jacoby Gillespie as the perfect replacement for Zakai Ziegler as a local homegrown started at Belmont or Greenville before that at the high school level, goes to Belmont, continues to get better and better, going to Maryland and really blossoming last season on a Sweet 16 team. And then you look at his final year, it's like, it's just a great story for him and someone who could be a first, second team All-American if all things go according to plan for him. He has that little upside, but Nate Ament does too. And I just think, man, that reading this sentence, and Myron knows his basketball as well, like, I'm just fired up.
Yeah, Nate Ament's recruiting process with Tennessee was really interesting to me because there was always mutual interest between the two, but it felt like Duke was the leader for much of the time, and Duke was bringing in guys like Cam Boozer. It looked like they were going to build another one of these monster Duke teams with 5 stars riddled throughout the roster, but things really intensified at the end of the season when Rick Barnes basically said, "That's my guy, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get him." And that was felt not only with, the coaching staff, but also the people that, help orchestrate these NIL deals and stuff like that. Tennessee went all out to go add Nate Ament because Rick Barnes sees what he saw in like a Kevin Durant, a guy that can make an immediate impact and become one of the best players in college basketball within one season. And I think the great thing about Nate is that this past year, he got a lot better with his intangibles. His ball handle was better. His defense was better. I thought his playmaking was better. Obviously, he's got a really unique shot, and it's very Durant-esque in the sense of he's able to get to his spots. He's got a high release point. It's really tough to defend. But he got better at everything else, which I think is really beneficial for a Tennessee team that is going to go through a transition this year. No Zakai Ziegler, no Jemai Meshack, no Jordan Gainey. Chaz Lanier obviously leaves, but you've had a couple of those guys on this team for a while. You need that pop. You need that guy that can go get a bucket, and Nate Ament provides you that. So I just think that this guy, if he's able to develop this offseason, even though there's a little bit of a minor hand issue right now, if he's able to develop with Rick Barnes' staff, who is great at turning guys into really solid defensive players. Remember when Chaz Lanier first started playing for Tennessee last season? He was a little shaky defensively. By the end of the season, really strong rebounder, much better defensively. Dalton Connect was the same way. A guy that came in, wasn't necessarily great defensively, but throughout the season, as it went on, became into a really good shot blocker, was really good around the rim. I feel like that could be implemented with Nate Ament. And, that's a guy that has already got a big, long frame. Imagine what he can do when his defensive potential is maxed within a full season. That's what I'm really excited to see with Nate.
Yeah, because he has the thing. That's what you saw with Dalton, is just that, like, he just has to get passable where Barnes trusts him enough. Because, like, I just think it's going to be really fascinating to see how Barnes balances what his defensive expectations are for Nate versus how much he puts on his plate offensively. Because part of what you had to do with Dalton, and even Chaz to some extent, is like, hey, yeah, it would be better if they were better defenders, and I would like them to be, but you have to expend so much energy to be a good defender under Rick Barnes that with the offense being what it needs to be, like, it needs to be in the top 20 in offense. Like, you need to conserve Nate. Like, part of what I always wondered about Takai was, like, just him playing every second half from start to finish, and just the mileage that was on Takai. Like, he got tired legs. I feel like there's a reason. You're a big NBA guy, William. Like, you look at James Harden and Luka Doncic, when people complain about their defense, I'm like, their usage rates in 36%. Like, it's so hard to already be elite at one thing on one side of the court, but everybody wants stars to be Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James, where they're star two-way players and they can carry a heavy burden offensively and also carry a heavy burden defensively. Those guys are few and far between. Maybe Nate Ament is that guy, and he can carry a high-level defensive usage and guarding opponent best players, that sort of thing, and also being the main epicenter of Tennessee's offensive firepower. But Dalton couldn't do it, and that was part of the reason it worked, is because Dalton had premier defenders around him to block it. Chaz Lanier had premier defenders around him and Jemai and Takai to kind of shield him. This year, you don't really have that, and it's going to be really interesting to see how Barnes manages that, because Jemai and Takai are gone. Like, Jacoby Gillespie is not a minus defender. He's not Takai. He's not a plus defender. He's probably neutral. Mari Abram, who knows what you're getting out of Mari Abram as a defender? Probably a downgrade. I'm going to go ahead and say he's not going to be as good as Jemai Mashak defending.
I don't think you'll be able to find an upgrade from Jemai Mashak.
I mean, you might in a year. Mari Evans has that.
I do like his length.
He could be that guy. He could be a souped-up Jemai Mashak when it's all said and done. Top 50 player, 4-star kid out of Overtime Elite back in Atlanta. Like, we'll see if he factors in as a year one guy, but he's not going to be Jemai Mashak year 4 as a true freshman. That's not happening. But I do wonder how Barnes handles this, because, like, is he going to overload Nate? You get him for 1 year, and you're like, hey, if you want to be baby Kevin Durant, you're playing both ways at an elite level. I need you to be an elite defender. I'm putting a lot on your plate there. And we also need you to save us late in games, because that's where things have always kind of gotten dicey under Rick Barnes teams. It's like they get a little stagnant in the half court, and it gets a little wonky late, because Zakai is not a shoot first guy. And you're going to have Jacoby Gillespie as a shoot first point guard who's going to really help, I think, in late game situations that at times of the years when Dalton wasn't there, because Chaz was someone who didn't create off the bounce. Like, Chaz was someone who still had to run off pin downs, and Chaz still needed someone to create for him. But when he got good looks and he was able to come off screens and get open, he had a quick, beautiful release, this, that, and the other. It's going to be a little bit different, man. And I kind of wonder how all that works. And that's going to be something we learn early on. It's like, what does Rick put on Nate's plate early? And does he manage that throughout the year of, like, man, I can't have Nate battling with the opposing best perimeter player, even if I know Nate can do it. It's just I need him so much more offensively than defensively.
Yeah, well, when Shump comes back, he can tell you a little bit more about this
tomorrow
as well. Okay, well, good. Yeah. In practice, Ament has been running as a primary ball handler at times as well, to where Gillespie is almost being put to put to shooting guard, and you're running off some shooting sets for him because he is a strong shooter. Was a 39% guy last season.
40%, yeah,
40%. A guy at Maryland last year, and that's a guy you have got to get open shots from. And using Ament as a primary ball handler, I think, is really interesting, because when you think of Connect, you had so much success with him dribbling up the court and taking it and finding his own shot and then creating the shot for others. I think Barnes is going to kind of try and do that with Ament. And it may not work out up against some college-level defenders, especially when you get in the SEC, how strong it was last year. But I at least think it's worth a try. And so far this summer, you've seen that in practice. Ament been used as a primary ball handler, been used as a 3, been used as a 4. Hell, there's even been some sets where he's a 5, just like kind of doing small ball. So, like, that's why I think Barnes was so big on this. and used every resource possible to go get him, because it's not just Nate Ament, the 5-star player. It's Nate Ament, the guy that can be a primary ball handler, a really strong defensive player, a 3, a 4. If you wanted to go small, you could go 5 with him. Like, just so many different possibilities. And that's why I think he's up there on this ranking of one of the best players in the country as a freshman, but just also just the possibilities you have.
I also think it's very silly, Garrett, is that like you have Nate Ament as the best freshman in the country, but you also don't have Tennessee among the 10 teams that can win the national title. It's like if Nate Ament's the best freshman in the country, Tennessee is an absolute national title contender.
Oh yeah, I mean I 100% agree, and I think it's good that you have 2 guys in him and Gillespie that you're pretty much certain that they're going to be really good offensive players, because over the past couple of years when we've gotten into the Elite Eight, whether it was against Purdue or the start against Houston this year, like you just couldn't score the ball for 10, 15 minutes straight. Like if you're going to win a national championship, you can't do that. And as much as Rick Barnes, wants to keep defense in his program, he can teach defense to guys. You can't you kind of are an offensive player, you're not. But then, like he said, we've seen guys like Connect. We've seen, guys like Lanier, transfers that weren't elite defensive players where they came from. And then, they weren't elite defensive players here either, but they were good enough.
You got to get him passable.
Right. And that's exactly it. And, for Nate, you're not going to see him be perfect at the beginning of the season. As long as he's playing good by, conference play, that's what's going to matter. And even you saw Cooper Flagg this year, number 1 overall pick. I think it was when they played Kentucky in that game early in November. I mean, he had a lot of growing pains at the beginning of that season. He dribbled the ball off his foot at the end of the game and kind of cost him the game there. He was missing some free throws, and then he ends up being the best player in college basketball this year. So if he doesn't start, as the best player on the team or the superstar, the first, 7, 8 games of the season, I think he'll make a leap, because it's different from playing high school basketball to college basketball. There is a little bit of a jump, and hopefully he's ready to be 100% ready to go by SEC play, and that he can be that guy that's the best player.
All right, Knoxville. Well, the chase has come to a close here on a Tuesday. Thank you to William Pattison in studio with us on a Tuesday. Thank you to Jay King. Thank you to Garrett Armbrust. Ryan Schemper will be back tomorrow. The Drive with Russell Smith and the Bear coming up next. Chase is back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Have a wonderful afternoon, East Tennessee.
The Chase on Fox Sports Knoxville and Fan Run Radio. Heck yeah.